But yeah, I'm Andrew Shell, and I'm a software developer in Madison, Wisconsin, and I went to see a nutritionist because of my I had heart surgery, and so it was part of the standard procedure afterwards to visit the nutritionist to make sure that my diet was in line with a heart healthy lifestyle. Even though my heart surgery wasn't because of a blockage or anything like that, it was a physical problem with my heart. They still wanted to just make sure everything was squared away, and so that's sort of the process. That's what happened.
So was it your first time that you actually saw a nutritionist?
I had seen a nutritionist once before, which was just sort of a check-in. I had problems with like energy and lots of fatigue and stuff, which in hindsight was probably because my heart wasn't working properly. And so at the time I had put together a journal of what I had eaten for I think a week before I saw the nutritionist. And she looked through the list and said, "Oh, it's pretty good. You know, you might want to change the appointment." And then after my heart surgery, I think I had 3 appointments with the nutritionist.
Mm-hmm. So you were basically like, how did you like, working with the nutritionist, and like, did you have to write the diet diary like manually or online? Was like, how did the process actually go?
Right, I did it on just a notebook that I carried around with me. I work from home, so it was kind of easy. The other reason that I guess, they had suggested using something like Calorie King or something like that. The problem I always find with those is that, especially if I'm eating stuff that I've made myself, it's really difficult to know how to categorize it right away.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if your product would solve that or not, but that's like really a big deal, because I've used that before. I've used Weight Watchers or things like that, which are all sort of journaling what you eat, and that's always been a really huge issue. You're just kind of guessing at stuff. You're like, well, unless I want to, I'm eating something with a label on it, it's hard to figure out what I'm actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the issues. So a lot of times with the notebook, it's easier because I can just write down whatever I know about it,
Mm-hmm.
and then the nutritionist can just look at it later on and figure it out on her end. So,
Mm-hmm.
does your product offer the ability to take photos of your food?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can take photos like portions or whatever with your mobile phone, and then just like upload it for your nutritionist, and then you just click save, and basically like he or she can see it like, in seconds.
Yeah, that would be really awesome, because such a big part of going to see the nutritionist is portion control,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, I
knowing
know.
how much of the food you're eating. And I know she'd ask me questions about stuff, because I'd write down like, "Oh, I ate this and I ate that." She's like, "Well, how much was it?" And I'm like, I don't know, like a bowl, you know. And she was like, "Well, that isn't very helpful, like how many cups was it, or what portion, what percentage of your food were you eating that was this or that." And so having the photo, I think, would be a big help, especially for me, because it would be really easy to just snap a picture of it, and then I don't have to worry about like trying to weigh my food,
Mm-hmm.
because she's gonna be able to just look at that and be like, "Okay, you're eating too much, or you're not eating enough."
Yeah, absolutely. We have, since we talked to nutritionists for like almost a year, we knew that their clients kind of have this problem with not being quite sure what is a portion, and sometimes it's just like, as you said, like I'm eating something really homemade, and it's in this bowl, and I want to take a picture of it. Or if it's a food that a nutrition doesn't know, that you can always take a picture of the label so they can actually see like what it actually has inside. This is what I'm trying to figure out. Did you get like guided by the nutritionist? Did you like build some kind of relationship? Because it's not easy it's kind of emotional, like you're open and like writing out what's actually happened with you, with your bowels, and like what you're eating, and you're frustrated. And did you get any kind of like really feedback in the sense of feeling that you're like guided through this whole process, or was it just
Not
like,
particularly. Appointments, I saw one nutritionist for the first 2, and then she left, and so I had a completely new person for the third one.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just kind of like, here it is. I'm not really too worried about that kind of stuff. I'm kind of an open book. So I didn't really have a problem with like, oh, I don't know you, I don't want to share what I'm eating and stuff like that with you. For me, it was fine. I just was in there and be like, here is as much data as I could collect, and so anything that I could do to collect more data easier is obviously better. So being able to just take a picture of the label instead of having to like sit down for like 3 minutes and try to type everything in and figuring out the whole user interface and stuff. If I could just have my phone just be like, snap, that's what I ate, and then put in the description, that would be way easier.
So did you feel like you wanted to be guided? Like if you had a nutritionist like on the other side, if you knew that you had like a nutritionist online all the time basically, and that if you asked for a comment or guidance in some particular day that you can get it, how would that, like a client, would that be something that would be something that you feel you really would want?
Yeah, in general I think that'd be fine. In that particular situation I wasn't worried about too much because I was so sick of seeing doctors at that point. I was just ready to be done with it. But when I saw a nutritionist the other time, and especially if I was, I'm still kind of a heavier guy, I really need to lose a bunch of weight. And so if I was seeing a nutritionist currently about that, especially if it was an ongoing thing, that would be really significant. Because if I was able to sort of have, a 24/7 nutritionist kind of thing, I mean, that's obviously not the case because they have work hours and things like that. But being able to like go in there and say, this is what I'm eating, and without having to like wait for my next appointment in a month or whatever, get feedback right away of saying like, hey, your portion sizes are too big, you need to adjust that. Or you should swap this out instead for this other thing because that, or you're not eating enough protein, you need to eat more protein, or just getting that would be better. And I think obviously having an online system would make it easier for that, especially with the photos.
Oh, cool. So, like, would you be ready to pay like a couple of dollars more to get this kind of? I mean, first of all, would you be interested in would you want your nutritionist to offer you a program that could do this, like all the things that you basically said? And would you?
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I mean, the nutritionists I've been seeing have been covered by my insurance. But even if it was like an out-of-pocket expense to like use this other platform, that would be totally fine with me. Because I mean, when she was talking about Calorie King and I was using that a little bit, like that came out of my pocket. Like that was something I just signed up for on my own, and then was able to give her a login for it. So I mean, for that, I certainly didn't have a problem paying for a tool that made my life easier.
So basically you're trying to tell me that you were actually paying for a program like this, and you would be like ready to absolutely, if a nutritionist said like, okay, I have this really like a program that I'm working on, but basically like it will really help you to put in like foods, and it's much more flexible, and you can upload pictures, and I'll be taking care of you if you need like any feedback. Would you be ready to pay $5 to $10 more for my services? Like, would you be ready to do that?
Yeah, that would be easy. Yeah. Not a problem at all. Totally.
Because usually like nutritionists are like really concerned, like, yeah, but if I take this like online system and then I might put up my prices a bit, and then nobody will see me. And I'm trying to tell them that like a happy customer would refer like this kind of service like to everybody. Like if you had like a really good experience in this sense, if it was much more easier for you, if you didn't have to do like this like manually, would you like refer this person like and say like, this nutritionist is awesome and he has like it's really easy with this one, and you'll get like a feedback and everything, and you might pay a bit like $5 more or whatever, but would you refer it like to people?
Yeah, I mean, I think having a tool that allowed me to sort of have a real-time interaction with the nutritionist between my appointments, that would be absolutely a killer feature. That would make me want to go to a particular nutritionist over somebody else. Yeah, and I think it would make things more effective too, because if we're having monthly appointments or something, and they're relying on me coming in with a notebook at that point. One, they're gonna have to sit during our appointment and look through a month's worth of data and try to make sense out of it. And two, if at some point during there I'm not actually being consistent, or I'm just writing things down, like at the end of the week, be like, oh, what did I have on Tuesday? Oh yeah, I had this. They have no way of knowing whether it's accurate or not, but if they were seeing a real-time feed of things as I'm putting it in there, they would be like, hey, you haven't uploaded anything today. What's going on? Things get crazy, people are living their lives, they're doing their stuff, and it's not always apparent what you need to be doing. And so sometimes just to get a reminder, or a little nudge to say, hey, this is important, you need to be doing this, is probably enough to get people to probably get much better results out of it. 'Cause, I mean, they're paying a nutritionist for a reason. They want to see results. And if they're not able, to motivate themselves or whatever to do the things that are necessary in order to get those results, anything that they can have to help them is certainly useful. And, even just a reversal of this thing, I should be able to see as a customer, like, when is my nutritionist logging in? Have they looked at my data at all this week?
That's a really good point. Yeah.
And if they're not, and they're not willing to work with me using this product, at the very least I could be using it. And then if I had a way of just having an export, so I could just click at the end of the month when I'm getting ready to go into my appointment, print it, and I could go in with a stack of 10 sheets of paper or whatever and be like, here's what I ate. I could have maybe just a simple view where it just shows all the text of stuff, or I could say I want a full thing with all of the photos.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good idea. I have also one more question. What do you think about nutritionists that are just cheap and just that yeah, I don't want to buy this. I want to use all of the gazillion of free software that actually is not good for my patient, doesn't provide them 100 care, and I'm not going to pay 40 or 50 or enable their clients to have really good care. What do you think about that? I mean, as an end user, you just said that you'd be ready to pay for it with no problem. So what does that say about them if they're not ready to invest in their business and give their clients the best care possible?
Right. I mean, for me, if I was there and I had a choice, for instance, if I was paying out of pocket for a nutritionist, I would demand that they were using something like this, because if I'm going to be paying them, a couple $100 a month for their services, they need to do for me what I'm asking for, or I'd walk and find somebody else.